The NBA is really changing. We've got a blockbuster trade the day of a game 7 in the NBA Finals. I can't complain. Doing what I do, I cannot complain. Kevin Durant has been traded once again. This time it's to the Houston Rockets for Jaylen Green, the number 10 pick, and Dillon Brooks. We've heard for the last month, right? The Suns really want to get this done before the draft because they want to draft capital back. And, these were the teams listed: Miami, Minnesota, San Antonio, and of course, the Houston Rockets. Last week, it came out that KD had turned down the Wolves. He didn't want to go to Minnesota. And, some people say, oh, well, cold weather. It's not like he doesn't want the vibes of that city and stuff like that. To me, I think a little part of it might have been he understood if they do win, Ant's going to get the credit, right? Like, I think there was a little element of that. And listen, I love KD. He's one of my favorite basketball players ever, but we have to be honest, he is a basketball thought, right? Like, he always has a wandering eye. The grass is always greener. And you have to take that into account if you're trying to bring him in. Like, is he going to be happy? Is he going to be, and you look at this Phoenix situation where initially you couldn't blame Phoenix for making the deal. I know, being out here in the Valley, a lot of people didn't like it because they had grown attached to Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, that run that Suns team made, and they were homegrown drafted players. But at the time, I think overall the optics were like, well, if you could get KD, you get KD. And you pair him with Devin Booker, whom I thought Book, to me, they say he's not a leader. I don't know. I think when you look at the circumstances around the Suns organization since he's been there, they haven't given him the structure to lead. And then I also believe there's probably a little element between he and KD, a little little bro syndrome, where, listen, they're peers. They played on the Olympics together. They're, all-stars. Book at a different point in his career. But I think there's probably a little element of where Devin looks up to KD a little bit too much, perhaps, to actually lead him as far as that dynamic goes. I'm pretty excited, though, because my daughter and we are headed to our first Golden State Valkyries game out here in Phoenix. And you already know how I got the tickets. SeatGeek, locked and loaded and ready to go. Seamless, easy transaction. It's what I use for any event when I want tickets. In fact, my cousin and I were headed out to Las Vegas. It's our annual trip each summer. And what we try to do is catch a UFC, but we've learned if you wait till kind of the last minute, hop on SeatGeek, you're going to get the best deal. Well, frankly, you're going to get the best deal from SeatGeek anyway. They rate their tickets on a 1 to 10 scale, so you know the value, and it's just such a seamless and safe process. It's what I use whenever I want tickets to whatever event. And so, I'm going to hook you up. Use the code Alchemy10 for 10% off your next set of tickets from SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets using the code Alchemy10. Make sure to click the link in the description, download the app so the code can be automatically added to your account. But why it works for the Houston Rockets is because that's what you say, right? KD's fickle. He's not really the leader, right? He's just going to give you the scoring and be that bucket, that guaranteed bucket. Well, Ime Udoka is the leader of the Houston Rockets, right? So that's why I think that works. And you look at their roster now: Fred, Amen, KD, Sengun, Jabari. You got Whitmore, Eason. Is Reed Shepherd going to be a player? They've got the depth to load manage KD, who I know that may be difficult because he's such a hooper. But at this point in his career, I think you really need to load manage him for the playoffs. And it's really a no-brainer for the Rockets. You get this deal done, I think, without giving up any of the young players they wanted to hold on to, right? Like, if I'm Phoenix, I'm making them come off Jabari, like at the very Jabari and Eason at the very least. But hey, we don't know exactly what the market is. I'm sure more details will come out about this deal. Jaylen Green, is he essentially a salary dump right now after that playoff debut? I know, what was it, a two and one deal? It's not a long contract that the Suns have absorbed. I imagine they're going to try to flip him, right? I think Dillon Brooks is the prize for them outside of this 10th pick. But I think that I imagine that was like what they are they going to, that's who teams are going to be calling about for Phoenix, because Dillon Brooks, despite his reputation overall, I think has really matured over the last few years. And even, Warrior fans watching that Rockets first round series, he's the same guy. That's what's impressive. He's still chippy. He's still borderline dirty, right? And he's still that same guy, but I think he keeps himself much more in control emotionally, and he's better at towing the line. He's become a really good knockdown shooter from three-point range. And so I think a lot of teams are going to be interested in adding Dillon Brooks at his number. And that maybe is what Phoenix was thinking as a chip to flip, because Jaylen Green, listen to me, Jaylen Green and Jonathan Kuminga are a cautionary tale of playing showcase basketball. The G League Ignite no longer exists. They both came from the Ignite and the club circuit, where showcase basketball, I think that, and one can argue, you can push back and say, hey, look, Jaylen Green has a $100 million contract. Jonathan Kuminga is about to get a $100 million contract. So, okay, fine. But if we're talking about them reaching their true potential and their ceiling, they lack a lot of the fundamentals that would have been taught if they would have went to college for a year, as well as I think just the structure of team basketball. Because with Jaylen Green, to me, he's one of the most athletic players in the league, but it almost works against him, because when you're that athletic, all you got to do is stick to the fundamentals and the basics, and you're gonna pop. You're gonna be efficient, and that's what's gonna best utilize it. And he just does too much. It's almost like he's playing for the gram, and he gets off balance, and that's why I think he's so up and down and erratic in his efficiency. One night he has 30, the next night he has 8, because he doesn't stick to the fundamentals of the game. Kuminga, I think, in his much different situation with the Warriors, where he had to really fight for court time, I think he's closer with the fundamentals, but I think that it's kind of along the same, and he gets more of a pass to me coming from where he came, from the Congo, right? And so his basketball journey's been different, but both of them, again, a year of college basketball, I think, would have really altered the base of perhaps how they play. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't see pairing Jaylen Green with Devin Booker in that backcourt. I think Dillon Brooks might be the flip, the 10th pick. I don't know what the Suns are going to do. I don't even know. I don't know if the Suns know what they're going to do. What they did know is they had to get rid of KD, and, Houston gets him for, again, not getting Jabari or Eason out of that deal. They look pretty damn good. They look pretty damn good on paper with that depth and being able to not have to ride KD every night like the Suns did for what was it, 2 years out here. So the other part, is more of the details unfold of this deal that's happened here Sunday, Game 7 Sunday, is Miami was the other option. I haven't heard what Miami was offering. Certainly not Kel'el Ware. Like, if we find out that the Suns turned down a Kel'el Ware deal, that's a bad look. That's a really bad look. I don't think that they would have offered him, but I don't know. Maybe they did, but they didn't get KD. And the rumor has been, if the Heat strike out on Durant, they could turn their focus to Jonathan Kuminga. Now, I know the first thought, Dub Nation, is Wiggs. Bring Wiggs back. Someone had messaged me. They had just seen him at their son's school, and he's such a low-key, laid-back guy, and it's just, I think everyone would be happy if that would happen. I don't think that Miami's looking to move Wiggins. I think they're looking for him to be a piece next to Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, right? Kel'el Ware, again, as I mentioned, I don't see that happening. I think they like Kel'el better than Kuminga, and so the players that are more realistic, if there were to be some sort of Kuminga sign and trade deal, the players that I like, Jaime Jaquez, and, he fell out of favor there with Spo. We can save that story for another time. I don't know. But, he is a player that went, I think, one pick before Pods a few years ago in the draft. I know the Warriors liked him, UCLA connection, and so they've liked him since the draft. So that would definitely be a guy in the discussion. Highsmith is a Heat-grown product, Heat culture. I don't think he was drafted at all, but he's a big defensive wing that would, fit into any rotation. And then Jovic, the center that they drafted, was he in the lottery a few years ago? It's taken him a while. He was super young, but he's a stretch big, skilled, and that would be a guy that you'd be interested in. So those are the three names from Miami if we are looking at some sort of Kuminga sign and trade deal. But yeah, KD's on the move again, and he's on another team that looks like they should be a contender on paper. I like the mix for him. I like Ime as the coach because you have a defined leader. You've got a lot of young guys that defend, a veteran point guard leader. It's a tailor-made situation for him to just be himself, which means not lead, not deal with all the other intangible stuff that come along with being a superstar. Just go get buckets and stay healthy. And for Phoenix, yeah, we'll see what they turn this into. But to me, what jumps out is you didn't get Jabari. Maybe I'm a little higher on Jabari Smith than others. But Dillon Brooks, let's see what they turn that into, because I think a lot of teams will be interested in him. Jaylen Green, is he a salary dump at this point? I don't know. But trade seasons, it's beginning before even the finals are over. We've got the draft coming this week, and Game 7 tonight. I can't call it, man. That's why it's a Game 7, right? Once you get to Game 7, can you really stand firmly on either side of who you think's going to win? My heart's with the Pacers. The way they play, the Cinderella story, maybe not Cinderella's strong, but they're not supposed to be here, right? And it almost feels like destiny. Some of the wins that they've got through these playoffs, it's like, dude, are they playing, my daughter says Halliburton's doing voodoo. Like, it seems almost like a team of destiny at this point. However, my logical brain feels like we are going to see the Thunder do what they do. The favorites all year long on their court. It's going to be their defense creating turnovers, SGA getting to the line, and we've seen J-Dub officially become a true Robin, a true number 2 star that can take over a game. And so I think the Thunder are going to get it done this evening in this Game 7. But yeah, more trades to come. Got Kuminga talk, Warrior talk coming this week, as well as draft stuff. I know we have a second-round pick. Lacob loves to jump back into the draft. So there'll be some Warriors content and news coming this week, as well as more Valkyries coverage. As always, hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.